All right, so today I'm going to be answering the question, if I owned a trucking company, would I use company drivers or would I use owner-operators? So before I answer that question, I'm going to get into some of the pros and cons of each. So one of the pros of using a company driver is that you have more control over the schedules, the routes, the branding, and customer interactions. So you have say-so on everything that they do, when they do it, how they do it, and you can create those policies. That is definitely a pro. It's just less complicated when you're the one in control of things. You also know that you're going to have consistent availability. Your drivers are assigned loads. You know that they're going to be available when they're available because you're in control of their schedule. So that is a pro for sure. You don't have to worry about if they're going to be available. You also have just a stronger brand identity. You can brand the trucks. You can make them wear uniforms. You can do all these types of things that just increase your brand's ability to be seen in the marketplace. And so that is something that is definitely good for the company when you're able to put your brand out there and promote your logos and your customer or your company identity. And then you're able to better enforce safety procedures, regulations, maintenance, insurance, all those type of things. Lastly, there's just a more predictable cost because you have your fixed amount that you pay people, your pay per mile or salaries or however that works. You're in control of that. Some of the cons is you have a higher operating cost because you are in charge of buying, maintaining, insuring, and fueling the trucks. And so those operating costs are going to be higher if you're using company drivers. You also have to deal with driver turnover issues similar to any other company. And then you have liability risks, which you have liability risks no matter which side you're on. And then you also have to deal with the administrative burden. So you have to, while it is a pro that you're in charge of scheduling, and you're in control of that, it's also something that takes up your time and your energy. And so that's really a trade-off you have to look at. So next, looking at the pros and cons of using owner-operators. With owner-operators, you have lower overhead costs, as I said before. Now they're paying for the trucks, for the maintenance, for the fuel, for the insurance, all of that stuff, so that is not a cost that you have to bear. But at the same time, typically, owner-operators charge more for their services, and so you have to pay higher fees for that. And so you also have some of the pros, like I said, with the company drivers, you have more to manage, where in this case you have less to manage because they kind of take care of things. They make their own schedules. They deal with their own situations. And then you also have a pro being flexibility. So you don't have large capital investments if you need to adjust your capacity or your scale based on how much you're shipping at a certain time. You're not wasting resources if you use owner-operators. And so that is a very helpful thing. So last, getting into the cons, similarly, I'm kind of just repeating, you have less control, you have higher per mile costs, independent contractors will cost more, you don't have the branding opportunities, and so really the pros for one or the cons for the other, it's very interchangeable. So many people and sources that I've read say to use a hybrid approach. In my opinion, if I owned a trucking company, I would prefer to use company drivers. Based on just my personality and how I like to do things, I prefer to keep things as simple as possible and to not have to rely on other people and leave things out of my control. So I would probably choose to use company drivers. That way I know that I can schedule them when I want to. I can make sure that I know what's going on at all times. And I just have to only have one model as opposed to switching back and forth between the two, which I just feel like would make things more complicated.